Hi, I'm Chef Rachel with Nutricia. I'm here today to show you how to make chicken nuggets using our 3-to-1 powder. This is a 3-to-1 ratio chicken nugget recipe, and very simple. It's an all-in-one bowl that you can mix very quickly and then fry up in a pan, and then just you can actually make it ahead of time and freeze it. If you need to. This is a great meal for our kids who are, one, transitioning, two, want to fit in school and their meal looks similar to other children, or even just taking it to the restaurant so they have a chicken nugget option for themselves. So the ingredients are our KetoCal 3-to-1 powder. The 3-to-1 powder is unflavored, and it does need moisture when you're frying it or baking it. So allow the mixture to sit for a few minutes before you actually go ahead and fry it or bake it. KetoCal tends to burn very quickly, so make sure that you're keeping your heat on a medium heat and you're watching that the product doesn't brown too quickly. So we're going to go ahead and put our KetoCal in our bowl. I'm going to put baking powder. The recipe says a 0.5 increment of baking powder. That's about a quarter of a teaspoon. If you do have a 0.0 scale, that's great. If you don't, it's about a quarter of a teaspoon of baking powder. The baking powder allows it to have a little bit of lift and gives it that height that you're wanting chicken nuggets to have. And now we're just going to go ahead and just mix that in a little bit, make sure there's no lumps in your KetoCal. And then the other ingredients, you're going to mix in, I use Hellmann mayonnaise, but whatever mayonnaise that you use, make sure that you're putting it into your recipe. Eggs that have been mixed well. These two are our binders for the chicken nugget. And I'm just going to mix those up really well. At this point, you can add in your seasonings. I like salt and pepper and a little bit of garlic powder and a little bit of garlic salt. I go ahead and mix that in a mixture ready to go for any of my kiddos that like keto food. And I just go ahead and put that in there and just a little pinch, then you don't have to calculate it. Mix that well. You can add dried herbs to this, or paprika, or any other seasoning that your child or your family prefers to have. And for the chicken, I use boiled chicken. I boil my chicken with just a little bit of salt and pepper and make sure it's cooked all the way through, allow it to cool, and then chop it really fine. You could put this whole mixture into a food processor or blender if you need texture, a little smoother texture, but I think that the nuggets, when they're a little more chopped, have a better feel like a regular chicken nugget. So I'm just going to add that chicken to our bowl. And just mix well. And we're just going to allow this batter to sit for a few minutes. And if you want to, you can also change this to a tuna nugget, tuna patty. If your child is, again, transitioning from toddler foods and eating one all-in-one meal, you can use hamburger, any meats that are chopped up. You can even use vegetables if you'd prefer a vegetarian meal, as long as it's within your ratio and your protein level. So now we're going to go ahead and put this in a skillet that's been heated up with a little bit with the calculated oil, and we're going to drop the batter in spoonfuls or spatulafuls into the hot oil and allow that to cook on both sides. We're going to brown it on both sides till the chicken nugget it's dried through. And then we're going to remove it from the pan and pour any remaining oil over the chicken nuggets. Give it a few minutes to heat up before you put your batter in. And I'm just putting my hand over the oil just to see if the heat's coming up. It's starting to get a little hot. You don't want it to be too hot or it starts smoking, because that will burn your chicken nuggets. So I'm just going to drop batterfuls, little drops of chicken nugget into the pan. And you'll start seeing the chicken nuggets start to dry out just a little bit on the outside. Be careful not to turn it too early, otherwise your chicken nugget will fall apart. After you flip them over, allow the chicken nuggets to bake a little bit more, fry a little bit more, but be careful that the oil doesn't get too hot. To make sure that they're done, you want them to be a little firm on the inside. You don't want them to be too mushy. So these are still a little more time to cook. Otherwise, when you take them off of the heat, they'll deflate and they'll be more like chicken pancakes. And you could serve chicken pancakes if your kiddo wanted them, but chicken nuggets, the kids want the firm, and they want it to look like everybody else's chicken nuggets. So this is your finished product of the chicken nuggets. Once you have plated it, make sure that you have removed all of the oil and scraped all the oil back onto your chicken nuggets that might be left in your pan. Allow that to cool and let the chicken nuggets absorb all of that oil. My kiddos typically like it lightly brown like this, but if you want a little more crispier or a little more darker, you certainly can fry it a little longer. You can, like I said before, you can also bake it if you want it to not be on the oven. Just mix everything together, place it in silicone pans, and bake it in a 400-degree ovens for about 15 to 20 minutes. You're going to want to watch that very carefully as you're baking it. It will bubble over or bubble up, and then allow it to cool in the pan. You just want it to be nice and brown on the outside. This is a great option for your kids to take to school, to take to family outings, to take to restaurants. It makes them feel like they are one of the family, and they do look and feel like a regular chicken nugget. If you need to make any kind of adjustments to this recipe for your child's profile or preferences, please do that on their recipes. You can find all of these recipes and this chicken nugget recipe on my keto planner. In the search option, search for Chef Rachel's Chicken Nugget 3-to-1. It is also as an ingredient, so you can make the batch recipe and then serve a portion of that to your child in their ratio with all of the other ingredients that make up their ratio or their profile or their preferences. And again, you can find that on myketoplanner.com.